This is a Play Your Way Network presentation. Get the full story at PlayLifeYourWay.com. In a world where the top film franchises are either reboots, comic adaptations, or just an overhyped waste of time, Play Your Way Network is back, and this time it's personal. BK, Nate, and Derek will show you how to do it the player way.
It's on once again, Patron once again. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, with all due respect, this is your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media.
The player way.
And with no further ado, we've been gone for a long time, but we back again. Got a little sick, got a little tired, and got a little life in the way because we got in the middle of UAK 2019. So here we go with no with everything out of the way. Let's kick this future bass. Yes, once again, Patron. Once again, I'm your resident podcast DJ BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media.
The player way.
But I never do this thing alone. First of all, I'm gonna go and throw it over to your boy Nate.
That's me.
That's what's up.
And DC.
DC? You don't want to rhyme? I thought you was about to kick some hot rhymes, man. I thought you was about to kick them hot beats.
They put the swag on.
Trip the Life, fantastic. And of course, you know we can't do it without your old boy, the resident clown and urban cowboy.
Corrupting the system.
Who is that guy? In DC, I like that, man. I'm DTX, man. It's nice to meet you. We'll get them affirmative dad jokes going on. Thanks, man.
Well, that's what's up, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between. If I'm a little down on the energy level, it's just because that's just what it is. I am actually down on the energy level a little bit. The reason why we didn't have a podcast last couple of weeks is I've been doing so much. Oh, he is sending me some Geeky Dama energy. I appreciate it. As he actually absorbs my energy to make his own Geeky Dama on his side. But that's what's up. Derek is sending me some energy because, man, I've been under the weather. I was a director for this holiday party / award show. And they had all of this amazing food. And once we got done with the award show piece of it, we cut the crew, my team leader and I, we cut the crew to let them go get something to eat. And then I was encouraged to enjoy the prime rib and such. And somebody must have coughed all over the prime rib station because within 48 hours, I had been diagnosed with strep throat. All kinds of pus and things all over. So how am I doing so far? I haven't cussed yet, have I?
No, man, but the descriptions of what was going on in your throat is really...
Man, I'm telling you. So I've been sipping on tea right before we got on this thing, but whether it's low energy or not, we're going to definitely take it to the next level and keep it all the way.
The player way.
That's exactly right. Let me turn it up. I want you to hear it just right.
The player way.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, thank you so much. Yes, you've been so far too kind. Exactly. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's get on with it, man. People are not listening to hear and talk about the pus in my throat. What have you guys been up to since the first of the year started?
Yeah, plenty. 15 days worth of activities.
Yeah, man. It feels like 3 months already.
I feel like I'm pretty late with this, but I watched Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider-Verse, man. Okay.
Oh,
what'd you think? So now everybody has seen it on the podcast, and James not even here, man.
I loved it. Had we done a list, that was number 4. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, we were going to do a list. That's what Nate is referring to. We all individually worked on these lists, and then we preempted the 2 episodes of the podcast. And at this point, we're deep into the new year. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like trying to wear protection, and you've already been there a couple of times. It's like, what's
there.
the point?
We're already there today, huh?
We're already there.
Hey, it's a family show. They have to understand Planned Parenthood, man. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. It's no point in trying to visit all the best movies of 2018. That's kind of shticky at this point.
Just to clarify, everybody should be wearing protection.
Always.
It's a cesspool out there.
All right, exactly. Always bring a poo bag, right?
But over more so than that being the one thing I just wanted to say, like more so that being just an all around good movie is, it's beautifully animated, and the animation style to me, watching it, I was thinking like, this is the future. So much DC has been the standard for animation style ever since Batman the Animated Series. Things have looked similar to that sort of style. And in a world where comics itself are a dying medium, and they need to start figuring out how else to output this, that to me was exactly how you could do it, because it looked like a moving comic, and as that technology gets cheaper and easier to produce, like that's what you should do, is release it as like a series,
Boom.
I mean, Derek, I'm gonna say my voice a little bit.
The Marvel comic streaming platform has born and hatched right here on the Player Way podcast.
It should, because comic
Way.
writers essentially are showrunners,
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What I thought Derek was going to say is, it's really interesting to hear you say that, because out of all of the four of us on this podcast, Nate was the most skeptical. Like when I was like, did you see it in Spider-Verse? Nah, man. And normally when Nate gives you the nah, man, it's like, how silly of you to think that I would go watch this in the theater.
Foolish mortal.
But I could tell after that episode when we were talking about it, you were really interested. You were like, I'm gonna have to give it a shot. And then hearing what everybody else has been saying about it's one of the best Spider-Man stories, if not the best. Nay, I say one of the top 3 best. I'd say top 5, maybe top 5 best superhero films to date.
I
mean, it's up there. It's up there, and that's not that bold, because there's a lot of crap. I mean, ain't but like 4 or 5 good ones anyway. But solid ones, like really, really solid ones. Like Infinity War. Infinity War would be one of them. You got The Dark Knight. You Into the Spider-Verse now.
Guardians
1 for sure.
Winter Soldier for me.
Winter Soldier, yeah, those are like the top 5, and then Black Panther, I think is slowly on this. Like,
are you talking about like 6. MCU top 5 movies, or just all
best comic book film? Well, we said Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Wonder Woman is okay. I watched Wonder Woman this last week, and it didn't age all that well. Kevin Smith made a really good point on about a year ago. Screen Junkies has this series that they have. It's like a comic book. It's like not comic book, but it's like a movie war kind of game show. I was telling Nate about this past week, and they had this episode, one of their penultimate episodes. They had Kevin Smith versus Elijah Wood, and it's basically like, who is the best movie fan out there? And Kevin Smith, when they talked about what was the best comic book film to date, Elijah Wood said The Dark Knight. But then Kevin Smith, he said predictably exactly like I said he would. He said Guardians 1. And it's because it's something that I said on the podcast when we first saw Guardians 1. Well, it wasn't when we first saw Guardians 1, but when we first started talking about it on the podcast, because obviously the podcast was way after the first Guardians. Probably when we talked about when Guardians 2 was coming out.
Yeah.
And the first
Guardians... we did. Guardians 1 was like, our big one when we came out, man. It was like our first one.
Guardians 2 was. Like, podcast wasn't even out yet when, like, Guardians 1 came out. But Guardians 2 for sure. We were talking about it. And the thing that I felt about Guardians... Now, it probably feels like we had a podcast because we've always had this man trip where we talked about it and everything. But Guardians 1 had that...
Some research real quick.
It had that... Do it, bro. Facts.
Guardians 1 was like August 2014.
Yeah. In 2014, I had just moved back to Atlanta by then. So I wasn't even thinking about a podcast. I was doing that other State of Play. Shout out to
Guardians
State of
2?
Play. Guardians
That's the one that we opened up on?
That's the
That
one
was
we
like
opened
May
up with that one.
2016. Yeah.
Look at him.
Okay.
He loves those series. But anyway, Kevin Smith, he was saying
Sorry.
how he said the same thing that I said around that time, that Guardians 1, it was in this special place that Star Wars was in, where as much stuff as you can say about Star Wars not obeying certain guidelines within science, we still don't know what space is all about. We know about space, but it's still mysterious. You can go back. We know what World War I was about. We know we've been to Gotham City before, but that's the same with Batman versus Superman. All of a sudden, all that was Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel together. Those films were just reactionary films to September 11th, really, when you think about them. So, that's a place, and I think that's where Aquaman has its magic, even though it's a bit of a pretentious film. It's in a place that you've not been before, and as much as I can protest. You can't talk underwater like that. If you open your mouth to talk underwater, you would go drown.
Unless you have super strong vocal cords like the Atlanteans have.
And see, that's the thing. You can
argue
argue
your voice through the sound,
and so Derek is corrupting the system, but he has proven the point.
Corrupting
You have to have
system.
Yeah, you don't need to have explaining in places that people have never explored before, because while you may know, until you've been there, you don't really know. And so that's where Guardians is at. That's the magic of Guardians 50 years from now. And that's what the question was. 50 years from now, what will be the film?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think I agree with that. I think out of all of these films, Guardians, and that's the reason why I felt like with the nowhere pieces and the way Guardians was introduced into Infinity War, that's going to help Infinity War have a little extra gas in the tank as well, in my opinion.
I'd say that's a fair point, sir.
Is that a salient point?
Give yourself one of those dings.
Oh, really? I can have one? Nice. I appreciate that, man. All right. Got to doing things out of order. Sorry that's a little quiet in here. Speaking of it being kind of quiet, man, out of nowhere, have y'all noticed the network that no one talks about, aka hashtag sit down and PTV, has become like the number one network online for like the past couple of weeks? You know what I'm talking about, Derek?
I know exactly what you're talking about. We had a discussion where you had mentioned a TV show, and I told you I had dismissed said TV show due to the network that produced it, as I have for the majority of my adult male life.
Lay that on us. Give us a little exclusive, man.
Exclusive. The player way.
Exclusive.
Use a story about a stalker.
So the show's called
really
You, right?
Yeah, YOU. Follows a stalker attempting to get a girl, and you just kind of, the story literally picks up, in medias res, and you're just following this guy going through it. And you just kind of see the psychology of him unfold, the characters he interacts. You actually get to hear like a narrative behind other characters, but it's not really bothersome because it really adds to the story, the plot. And you just end up having very, anxious feelings while you're watching the show. It's it pulls you in.
Nate,
it takes a while. It is a slow start.
Yeah.
But it does eventually pull you in.
Nate, have you seen this show before? Or heard of it?
I have heard of it, but it's in my Netflix queue.
Dude, you should move it up. So here's what it is. I'll tell you the same thing I told Derek. I had a different experience in the knowing of this, the coming into my knowledge. My wife, Rachel, shout out to Rachel. Most of the best things I watch on Netflix, it's because of my wife. I have to give her 100% credit. Because otherwise I'm watching YouTube and Game of Thrones. Like, that's pretty much what I watch. So basically, what she basically did is she said, hey, there's this show I've been wanting to watch. Can I have control over the TV today? I said, sure, absolutely. Like, we never fight over the TV. She's like, hey, I want to watch something. You cool? Yeah, pull out my Nintendo Switch, play Smash Brothers. Hashtag Team Marth. Pulled it out, was doing my thing over there, and she's watching you. And the thing that catches your attention immediately, it doesn't really have a theme song. It just has you in like these fiery, bloody letters, and then it goes into the show peacefully. And so that immediately got my attention. It was through Netflix, so I did not even know what network it came through. Mm-hmm. And the first episode is about this guy who runs this bookstore, and he's seeing this woman. And it doesn't start off as stalking. He kind of is like analyzing her a little bit, and in his mind, kind of, you're hearing what he thinks of her. And she, you know, he checks her out the stand, and she flirts with him a little bit. And at first, it's not stalkery. This is where Derek is like, it starts off slow. It starts off very like guy meets girl, and you're like, oh, do I have to really watch this right now? And that's how I was. I was playing, you know, Smash Brothers. And by the way, shout out to Draz, Montreal. When I see you, it's on. All right, Team Marth, you can't hang with my stuff when it comes to Smash Brothers, bro. I'm taking you out, and I'm gonna do it
the player way.
Grabs the lightning.
Places in fuel.
Anyway, so I had to get back to that because that's all I was thinking about. I was about beating Montreal, man. When he comes in town, I'm gonna whoop him, man. And I'm watching the show, and slowly I start. What happens is this guy he follows her home, watches her from across the street, and within the first, I think, 30 minutes of the show, he's masturbating to her getting dressed through her window. Mm. It's like, oh, wait a minute, we're going to see it from his perspective? And you watch this guy through the season slowly stalk his way into being this woman's boyfriend. Like hardcore becomes the man of her dreams because he stalks the crap out of her. And it is like, holy crap, in the middle of this Me Too movement, this is the show? And then you find out it's a Lifetime show. By the time you get to 4th or 5th episode, you're like, oh, what? Lifetime is pushing this? That's the reason why nobody's protested it yet. It's like, you can't be mad at, you know, so like the way they do it is the girl is not, the girl is somebody who's kind of dumb, and she's definitely that Instagram basic chick. You don't feel sorry for her. She definitely tries to use sex to get whatever she wants. So you don't feel sorry for her. And there's so many things going on throughout the show that like, it kind of plays with the idea of like, you kind of nowadays, you kind of stalk the person that you're going to be with in a weird way. You date them one time and then you spend a ton of time looking at them on social media, trying to pick them apart, guess what they want, and trying to edit yourself. But it takes it to the extreme. And it's very much like Dexter, but mixed with like, help me out, Derek. It's like Dexter mixed with
masturbation.
There's like it's like something else I've seen before that it's like mixed with.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that like you watch these romantic rom-com movies with these grand romantic gestures, which are honestly one step away from being very stalkerish or creepy.
It's
Dexter and Black Mirror.
It's very Black Mirror. That's it. Dexter and Black Mirror. That it's that put together. And I'm a big Black Mirror fan. To the point where I've even went back and watched the initial episodes of Black Mirror and love them just fine. I'm not usually a British like BBC type show, which that's not really that type of thing, but it has that kind of feel to it at first. But it's, you know, it's pretty good, man. So, Nate, I definitely think you should move that up into your queue. If you do, you're definitely doing your Netflix queue.
The player way.
And if you have not heard of you listening to this podcast, you definitely heard of R. Kelly. I was going to have some R. Kelly drops, but I'm hashtag mute R. Kelly right now, at least in public. You know what I'm saying? Like
And for this to be on the network that also has the series You,
yes,
you know, at the same time they're just showing their spectrum, so you got to give them a nod. Like
I've been hearing a lot of this. It's a docu-series?
So it's a 6-part
docu-series.
It's a 6-part miniseries. So they're going for awards too.
Why are people getting up in arms about it?
Because
people have known about R. Kelly.
My arms are attached to my ears right now. I am up in arms myself. Here's what happens, dude.
I mean, like, people have known about the Aaliyah thing for a
while. But you don't
Chappelle
know.
was joking about the peeing
But you
thing
don't know, bro. But when you see it, though, when you see it, I said the same stuff you're saying, And
Yeah,
then I
like-
watched
like,
it. Derek
to be
heard
honest
me
with
via
you,
text message start at one end of the spectrum, and by the end of it, I was like, "You need to watch this."
Yeah. Alright.
Like, I hear what you're saying, Nate, because I had a similar thought. I was like, people were aware of it. However, it just hadn't been very public. It didn't have the momentum, the push, the right, in essence, the right social media influencers behind it yet. And then once it started kind of getting out, and then the docuseries got put together, man, it really sheds all the light that you really need.
Where did you guys watch this?
I watched it on Lifetime, bro. I had to get it. Derek, you did too, right?
Same here, yes, sir.
I had to get some,
What's it
bro.
called?
Because it's called Surviving R. Kelly.
Surviving.
So here's what's, and they're kind of making a bit of a series called Surviving : so it could be other people. So they're setting up for
Man,
more.
that's a gold mine right now.
Yeah. So here's what. All right. So Nate, here's what. You've worked in litigation, so you understand the term, the preponderance of evidence, right? What's more likely to be true than true, and if it's 51% likely to be true, you have to go more toward, in a civil case, toward the person who's at the 49%, right? And then you have beyond a reasonable doubt, which is like, it's like 60-40 is what a lot of people say that is, right? So if you have 60% of the doubt, then 40%, yeah, you lose out, right? Even if 40% of doubt there. All right, this is 100% sure. Like, you're like, oh, he's doing that, and he's been getting away with it because no one cares about black girls. Oh, wow. And like, you find out stuff about the Aaliyah, for example. I can't remember if it was VH1 or Lifetime that did the Aaliyah movie, but it's one of those networks, right? I believe it was Lifetime though, because they are responsible for a lot of those crappy movies. All right, so Derek, you getting those receipts for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if it's Lifetime, all right, it's even more damning. But even if it's just VH1, they're all part of the same family of companies, right? Viacom. So here's what happens. This movie comes out a few years ago, and it kind of goes through the R. Kelly relationship, and they make it out to be like her parents were on board with it, and like they knew about it, and they were cool with it because they liked Robert, and even the actor that they casted as R. Kelly, they made him look kind of young, and yada yada yada, right? They go back over and give you the facts about their relationship. Here's how people found out in the industry that R. Kelly was having sex with a 15-year-old. They were on a tour bus, and they noticed that Aaliyah and R. Kelly were just missing one night. And then somebody just happened to bust into the room because they were playing hide and go seek or something on the tour bus, and somebody busted in the wall, and they find R. Kelly beating the cheeks in between. Like, it's like, of a 15-year-old. Yes, I said it kind of graphically, parents. Sorry about it, but you need to know that there are people out here who are doing this to your children. You know, and it's like this guy, he started early with this. He was 27 years old when this happened. And he's as you know, from watching all kinds of true crime stuff and all of that, there's an escalation over time with behavior. And they show with each episode how because he's gotten away every time. Yeah. Aaliyah, it was like he was in love with her. Okay, we'll give you that. Then they go another time. Then another time. Then they dedicate a whole episode to the girl that he peed on and what happened to her and what she's been up to. And like, it just keeps going and going and going to the point where he's now kidnapping people. Like, legit kidnapping kids in the middle of Orlando.
It's
Parents,
crazy
their
how
kid just comes up missing and they're at R. Kelly's hotel. What?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy.
It turns into like, you know, just something where you're just in disbelief as you're like, okay, here's one terrible thing. And then here's another extremely terrible thing that is not normally associated with somebody who's doing this other thing. And then boom, here's another, executionary thing. And just everything that you keep finding out. I'm like, man, just riddled with felonious activity. Just it's crazy.
It is, man. It is insane. And so it gets to the point where by the end of it, they do a great job. And it's not just a bunch of bitter people. John Legend is like the main person on the show, dude. This is somebody who he's worked with. Like, they have a lot of Tom Joyner.
Credible witnesses.
Tom Joyner, who is one of the big Urban AC slash AKA Black pioneers in radio, he's decided to hashtag mute R. Kelly. They're not doing it anymore. They're not doing it with him. Part of the Me Too movement started because of R. Kelly.
Yep.
Before all of the other stuff came out.
Shows.
Before all of the other people came out, he was like the first one they were campaigning on, and he keeps getting away with it. And it's really sad. So what do we take from this? It's information. Is it entertainment? Yes, of course it is. That's the ugly truth of it. But if you choose to inform yourself and to understand what's going on and don't ignore the rights of African American women in this country, and you support the Me Too movement within reason, of course, being a person who understands what's true and what's not true, this is one of those things you can't ignore anymore. And definitely your resident podcast DJ BK is definitely helping you hashtag mute R. Kelly.
Just like that.
Just
exactly.
enough.
That's a great example.
For everything to kind of break down. So there you go. So that's what's going down.
That was the mute drop.
Exactly. That was the mute drop. We'll have to drop that one in manually. But anyway, that's what's going down there. Time out for just a second, guys. We're going to keep recording. But I won't be doing any live drops. This laptop over here is crapping out on me. That's what was happening out before. It's like frozen. So don't call for any drops unless you're for sure that I can add them later. We'll keep going, and we're back. So yeah, definitely if you're listening to R. Kelly's music, we're not trying to down you for doing it, but definitely take some time out to inform yourself as well as entertain yourself. And if you do that, supporting the Me Too movement and the rights of African American women in this country, as well as all other lives mattering, then you're definitely doing your entertainment
The Player Way.
and that's how we're going to do that right there. All right. If there's no further ado, we're going to move on to the box office hustle.
Yeah, let's do that.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Yes, can I have your attention, please? Box office.
All right, it's time for the box
All
office
right.
hustle.
So tell us what our top films of the past weekend were in order from 3 to 1.
From 3 to 1?
Yes.
Well, surprisingly, number 3, A Dog's Way Home. With
Really?
11 million.
That was one of those films that I didn't.
Dude, I saw this preview with Spider-Man.
Yeah, I saw it too, man.
And it was one of those, like, because they gave away the whole movie.
They did. It's
showed
like Homeward
the
Bound.
dog
but
getting
sadder.
lost all the way to him coming home,
Man.
like in the trailer.
Remember Homeward Bound in the 90s? How much crap that movie was, but we all loved it as kids.
I rewatched that when
Yeah.
I saw it on Netflix like
Incredible
a year and a half ago.
When you think how silly it is, it's people narrating as pets, man. It's
Yeah.
the weirdest thing
Yep.
to watch.
But when you're a kid, like,
Don't
you
love it.
Your imagination is
Fills
so,
it in, man.
Yeah. So that was number 3 with $11 million.
Wow, that's crazy.
Sony's on the uptake already.
Yeah. 2 was Aquaman, 17 million.
Holding
And
steady.
first DCEU movie to hit $1 billion. So congratulations to the
Definitely.
Aquaman.
Definitely giving it up to Aquaman, man. That's what's up.
And then number 1 was The Upside
The Upside.
with Bryan Cranston, Kevin
Oh
Hart.
yeah, I was wondering if that movie would do okay, but just because
did?
everything that Kevin Hart has been going through, man. It's a
20
great time
million.
for him to come out with something that's a little sadder and still is funny, but it's got some sort of heart and humor to it.
Ooh,
Maybe a little spectacle.
unintended.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Has,
I didn't watch it.
No, I haven't seen it either. He's been doing a good job online. I feel really bad for him. You know, we just got through talking about the Me Too movement and all of that stuff. On one end of the spectrum, you have some legitimate concerns and things like that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got mass hysteria. Everybody's super sensitive right now. It's kind of why we had to kind of change our format up a little bit. I mean, when you get rich and famous, you can do whatever you want and say whatever you want, but until you're trying to make it, you kind of have to obey what everybody's doing with the image.
Until
obey.
Lifetime gets you. That's when
Exactly,
you can do
man.
Whatever you want.
I'm telling you, man. And then you know, but Kevin Hart's one of those things where he had been through this situation with his wife and his cheating allegations and sex tape out in public, and he'd made it through that. And just as he's kind of making it through that, you know, he decides he wants to do something positive. He publicly says he wants to do something positive with the Academy Awards, and people crucify him for it, you know, because of some comments that he had made in the past. This is very similar to that conversation we had about James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and him getting removed from that trilogy.
From a decade-old tweets, which were in very serious poor taste, but still.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, there has to be...
Statute of limitation.
Well, not even that. I get the age-old adage of, you know, you're just as bad as Hitler if you watch the gas chamber trucks drive by. You know, it's like if you watch people go into bondage and applaud them and buy into the propaganda, you're just as bad as the villain, which isn't true. Okay, but I get where people are coming from, and is prevent monstrosities from happening by not allowing your neighbors to be victimized and empowering and trying to inflame the passions of the people. But something has kind of happened somewhere along the way. The people's passions have been far beyond inflamed, to the point where you can't say anything and you can't say how you feel. Like, you can't even say that you don't agree with, I'll just throw something out there. If you don't agree with same-sex marriage, I personally agree with it. But if you don't agree with it, I don't think you should be crucified for having your beliefs. If that's what you believe, that's fine, and everybody has the right to ignore you and move on and unfriend you, whatever. But to try to legislate, behavior, to legislate morality, you know, I kind of feel, you know, peer pressure by morality is worse than, it's fake morality. It's not true goodwill toward men.
It's what's current, yeah.
It's like Christmas all year long, you know, that fake niceness.
The polite rudeness.
Yeah.
I feel personal about
Nice,
this
nasty.
because a lot of people in LA were like this. I'm so diverse. If you're not as diverse as me, then obviously you must be X.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be racist or something like that. But it was almost like a mob mentality of extreme liberalism.
Yeah, I mean, for the lack of a better term, man, I know people don't like that word liberalism, but there's a lack of a better term. That's all we're going to say. It's not that we're saying all liberals are bad or a certain caste of liberalism is bad. It's just there's nothing else to call it because there's a certain people have a certain kind of behavior. I had a very similar feeling about a film that just came out that is really well done, actually, but because of the tone of it, I wonder if it'll ever get the adulation it deserves. And I'm talking about Vice. Vice that just recently came out. Gary Sanchez Productions is behind it, and if you know anything about Gary Sanchez Productions, Will Ferrell and all of them are part of that. Adam McKay. Exactly. So Anchorman, you know. So when you see that when the film comes on, you're like, oh, this is going to be funny. And that's not what you came to watch when you go to see Vice. But if you don't know about Vice, Vice is the film about George Bush's vice president. I keep wanting to say John McCain.
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney, exactly. But
I imagine it to be in the same tone as The Big Short, like his last.
Yeah,
film.
it is. It's very similar in the tone there, but it's a little more on the nose.
Serious subject matter, but bits of humor.
Not bits. It's heavy-handed, dude.
Yeah,
it's laugh out loud, funny moments. Like it's what it is it's showing the absurdity of real life. Like, for example, there's a part in the movie where the credits roll, and it's obvious that that's not the end of the film, but they're trying to say that if Dick Cheney had done this with his life, then everything would be great with the world, and everything would be a happy ending. But then the rest of the movie is him descending into hell. And so, but you learn a lot. That's the crazy thing about it. Is I'm a big history buff, and you learn a lot about Dick Cheney from it. I mean, they present the facts as they are, but they do make some assumptions about the frame of mind and all of those things, and they poke fun at the pillow talk of a couple that is in power type of thing, and they make assumptions about why Dick Cheney did the things that he did, when he did them. So it's a great film, but they even make fun of themselves at the very end that while the facts are there, it's heavy-handed. Like a conservative is going to have more trouble taking this than an inchy suppository when you have hemorrhoids. Like, it's going to be hard to sit there and watch this film if you have certain ideals. Mm-hmm. You know, Derek is shaking his head. Was that graphic?
No, man. It was
I think it's keeping up with the tone of the episode that you established from the beginning. With the pus.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting exactly. So, sorry, I'm eating a lemon flavored throat lozenge because I'm trying not to ruin my piano chords before I have to go to work tomorrow. But anyway, it's a great film. But again, that what was the term you used about liberalism? Extremist liberalism. It's got that to it. Even down to like recently, we had the president bring some people to the White House, and he served McDonald's, and people got upset. I'm like, McDonald's is good. Like, what's the problem? What's more American than McDonald's? It's just, I don't know. It's like everybody's looking for something to be upset about. It's like,
yes,
like you voted for him. Like, he won. What are you mad about? I don't understand. I just don't understand. Like, it gets to the point. So, like, Derek is this type of person who, if I get upset about something that's not a big deal, he has a way of showing me how silly I'm being. Like, he doesn't outright say that I'm being silly. He just treats my argument like he treats his children arguing about wanting the red Dr. Pepper bottle as opposed to the black Dr. Pepper bottle. It's like, okay, all right. Yes, because this matters right now. And this is the most important thing to talk about right now. Yes. Okay. And that's just how we're getting in our country.
Sounds like that Derek guy is great at parties.
Yeah. So sorry to get kind of political on this episode, but you know, it's a political time. Our media, the theme of this episode is everything that we've talked about so far has a political twist to it. Okay, you got the two Lifetime shows that we're talking about that have a certain kind of tone to them, and the way you enjoy them has a lot to do with how you feel about what's going on in the world. And then you also got, you know, the thing that's going on in the White House with the Big Macs on silver platters and candelabras. And then you got the thing going on with Vice. Vice is one of the
you
best.
Honestly be upset?
Yeah, I just don't understand. I don't understand. How do you not love Big Mac sauce? I just don't understand. I don't get it. They're sports guys. Like, I get it. It's a government shutdown. Who else is cooking?
They're kids.
Thank you. I just don't understand. I don't understand. There's so many more things to be upset about right now. For example, the Atlanta Falcons is not in the Super Bowl, but I have to endure this traffic this next couple of weeks. I am planning my entire staff's schedule for the next couple of weeks around the Super Bowl activities that my home team nor my hometown team, Dallas Cowboys, are not going to be in. I'm so mad. How the Cowboys not win? What is going on? What in the world?
As me and Derek were discussing pre-show, the LA Rams are a very solid overall team.
They got every 4 or 5 years there's a Rams team.
No, this is like first team in about 10, 12. Because you had about 6 years of the Fish era, and that was just a bastion of mediocrity.
They had a really good side by side graphic in that game showing the Rams from '99 were first in passing, first in rushing, like first in everything.
Yeah.
And or total yards. And then this Rams team is number 2 at everything.
Guys, it really been 20 years.
What was it? What were the?
Wow.
It's been 20 years since the greatest show on turf. Yeah.
Man.
Greatest show on turf. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Zahir Hakeem, Isaac Bruce. You know what I'm saying?
Marshall
Falk.
Yeah.
Man, Marshall Falk.
Kurt
He was
Fly
something
High
else.
Warner.
So who y'all got in the Super
right.
Bowl? Who y'all got?
Torrey Holt. Remember him?
So who
Yeah.
y'all got? Who y'all think is gonna do it?
I've been saying this since almost the mid-season. Is I think Saints.
Saints in my city, dude. You talking about being in a bad mood in Atlanta and the Saints. The Aints come
Yeah.
into town. And my wife
the
actually
Saints.
likes them Aints. She's the worst fan, and all Saints fans are the worst fans in the world. Yeah, I said it. All right. Y'all don't even Saints fans don't even watch football. Okay? Saints fans is, oh, we winning? Oh, we winning? All right, here we go. I'm telling you, bro, y'all don't know no pain. I'm telling you, man.
Man.
Kids today.
I hope
feel
we
like
see
the
a
Saints also.
Saints
I side with Nate's.
Super Bowl.
That would
Chiefs
be a
deserve
good
it.
Super
The
Bowl.
Chiefs now. The Chiefs deserve it, bro. It's been
Yeah,
long.
I would root for the Chiefs only because I think Andy Reid is a stand-up coach and a
And
stand-up
because
guy,
you're not
and he deserves the
an
Super Bowl.
idiot of a fan, you know the Saints is bad for all of us winning. Okay, let them not win. Okay, Kansas City long overdue. Derek, what's your picks?
Honestly, man, the Rams looked incredible, and they had a game earlier this year where they just went toe to toe, and the Saints pulled ahead and won that game at the Dome. But it's going to be back at the Dome, and the Saints are going to be pretty fired up. I tend to side with Nate, even though, of course, any given Sunday, but I tend to side with Nate, and I can't ever count Tom Brady out. But
Man,
you can never count him out.
I
You know
would
what
love
mean?
to see Brady
The
back.
same
too,
thing.
man.
Pats beat the Chiefs, I think, earlier in the year.
Soundly. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know if they beat them soundly. I thought you were about to say Chargers,
But
yeah.
Pats are playing in Arrowhead, so
that
And
makes the difference.
My prediction now I will tell you what my prediction is. I predict that the Brady versus the Arrowheads is going to be like New England versus Kansas City is going to be an even better game than the Super Bowl. That's the game right there.
It always is. That's how it always is. The conference championships are always
That's
better
it.
than the Super Bowl, man. These teams all know each other. You know what I mean?
Is this about to go down? So
Super Bowl is just for the money grab.
Yeah,
That-
I would
mean, that-
love the Saints not to
that's
go.
nothing.
I'm hate.
I wouldn't mind to see L.A. Kansas City. Two teams.
That would just two teams that just unlikely teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a long time for them.
I want LA to win, and I want the Chiefs to win.
Yeah.
I want that to be the case.
I do want to see New England again. I mean, just to see the legend grow in my lifetime. To say I was there.
Super Bowls.
To say I was
go
there.
to 9 Super Bowls.
To say I was
the
there.
fact that they have 8, right? 8. The fact, like,
And
I
he
always
wants
say
that. And
any
he
Tom
wants that
Brady
one bad.
hater,
Dude.
I was like,
he wants that one bad.
man,
Because after
I
last
always
year,
say like you got to respect the monster. You got to respect that. What they? I mean, he's 5-3 in the Super Bowl. Like he has
just
a
imagine
Super
the
Bowl.
documentaries 8 years from now. They're going to be talking about Tom Brady like he was Michael Jordan, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's going to be the way people of our generation growing up would talk about Joe Montana. I mean,
But
Tom
better.
Brady is the guy that's become better than Joe Montana.
Shout out to Steve Young though, man. Steve Young don't get his, and Troy Aikman for sure. Troy Aikman definitely don't get his comeuppance, bro. Troy Aikman,
Well, that's
bro.
because they were playing in an era with Joe Montana. I mean, it's,
Oh, come on, man.
no, I'm
Joe
not
Montana,
taking anything.
You don't know nothing
Right.
about no Joe
Barry-
Montana the King.
Hold on.
The two of them had very solid Hall of Fame careers, obviously, but
Yeah.
they were
Which is better?
overshadowed a bit by Joe Montana.
There was other people at that time, man. Barry Sanders was up and coming.
Yeah, but
Jerry
he was
Rice
with the Lions, though. Barry
Jerry Rice
Sanders
still has,
compromised,
like,
yeah.
every wide receiver record. That's going to
Yeah,
be tough. to beat.
197 receiving
Yeah, Barry
touchdowns.
Sanders, man. That one always hurts every time you say that name.
Barry
Such
Sanders?
a talented person with such a mediocre team, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dan Marino, too, man. Whew. Man.
Dan Marino was an incredible quarterback. I feel bad for him, man.
Man,
Phil Rivers.
at least he won a Super Bowl.
Dan Marino.
At least he won a Super
is,
Bowl
man.
in Ace Ventura, man. He got his in Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what's up.
Speaking of Ace Ventura and the Laces Out, the
Yeah.
Chicago game.
Dang.
Oh my God! Talk about it, Nate. Talk about it.
Chicago and Philly.
Oh my
what was it? The
God.
Wildcats?
The
It wasn't the
Cinderella
Wildcats,
season, dude.
Yeah, that was Walker.
The clock struck 12 right in front of our eyes, and they turned back into a pumpkin. Oh man, it was such man.
That's why I would, a lot of people, I would never, ever, 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 ever want to be an NFL kicker because the game at some point will
It's going to
decide.
rely
It's gonna
on
be
you.
completely on you.
Yeah. And I
And they fired that.
don't
I think they
believe
fired
in
him
my
same day.
clutchness to make
Did
a
they
field
let him
goal.
go or something? They
Huh?
gon' if he ain't fired him yet, they gonna get rid of him, bro. He gonna be gone.
Well, they came back and said instead of a missed field goal, it was a blocked field goal because someone was able to graze their finger. But I almost feel like they said that out of
Yeah, y'all. Hey, y'all both won, man. Y'all both won.
yeah.
When your best friend lose a fight. Hey, y'all both won, bro. It's all good. Y'all both won. Anytime you hear y'all both won, you lost. You lost. Your friend just trying to help you out, and it's worse because you can't handle the truth. So you lost twice in life. So, yeah.
I mean,
Real
it's.
and
I really feel for the guy because I can imagine.
I feel
what
bad
it's
for
going to,
Chicago, bro.
And
It's-
to be the entire city's going to hate you. He's going to get death threats. It's.
man.
I hope he shut off all his social media. I do feel sorry for him.
Just like last year with the Saints safety that missed that tackle
Yep.
on Stephon Diggs. He got the business,
Yeah.
but he's had it.
Yeah.
That's what's going on there.
People are cruel, man. And
Yeah, they-
especially
they
sports
are.
fans. They're super cruel.
Bro, man.
Absolutely.
And, dude, did you see,
knowing I can't do a tenth of what you do,
Bro,
but
in
I will
Philly-
critique you as if I raised you.
Philly,
Yeah.
man. Philly's just so mean. They just have mean fans, dude. They were so upset when their team lost. Did y'all see some of the stuff on social media when they were leaving out, just having temper tantrums?
Just it's ridiculous. No loyalty. Just
No discount.
I no protectors.
Exactly.
They need
No more.
They need to take that team and just move it somewhere else. That town doesn't deserve a football team.
No.
I feel like
Talking to you,
everyone in
Bink.
Philly-
Talking to you, Bink. Huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone in Philly is probably like the characters in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Just
Yes, that's my only perception.
no offense to the great citizens of Philadelphia if you're listening.
Yeah, and no offense to the great show of Always Sunny in Philadelphia either.
Man.
Oh man, it's rough, man. But whatever your weaknesses are in the season, man, the playoffs will expose them. Just like my Cowboys, they're anemic offense all year. Just like Chicago's anemic offense. It just, when it counts,
Well,
It's just
Cowboys
gonna come
won
and get you,
playoff
so-
games, so that bought Jason Garrett another 3 years. 3-4
it did. But what's crazy, it's right at the ceiling as always. Never make it past divisional, man. It's ridiculous. Never. Yeah, yep. We'll know he's going to be there and long after his death. He's like, yeah, this is going to be my new Landry. That's what Garrett's going to be there for us. All right, now he ain't no Jimmy, but he does what I tell him, and we plug him in at night to charge up his Android CPU processor.
Well, that's what's going on there, man.
At least he doesn't clap as much.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's going to pretty much do it for us on this episode. I feel like we've given y'all a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, and my voice is getting to the end of its least period. I'm going to have to start. What was the movie where if you rented body parts in the Repo Man?
Repo Man.
Yeah, man. I feel like the Repo Man is coming to get my vocal cords in a little bit. Like I'm old dude from Wu-Tang.
Industrialization.
That was Jude
genetic-
Vaughn. Who else was it?
Some black guy.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Hey, that was at 25%.
I said what I said.
Exactly. So that's what's up there. While we didn't get a chance to talk about our top movies of 2019, I do want to kind of talk about some media that we have consumed. I saw this really awesome movie over the last couple of weeks again because of my wife. Shout out to Rachel. It's a movie called Come Hell or High Water. Nate, you saw this film. Tell us a little bit about it, man.
It's about two brothers who are bank robbers.
Chris Pine and Ben
Foster.
Ben Foster, yeah.
Jeff Bridges plays a old worn
The dude.
cowboy cop,
Totally his
just
type,
standard Western Jeff Bridges.
Yeah,
I
man.
realized that was the movie that you guys were talking about.
That's it. Have you
Really?
seen it?
No. See, I wanted to watch it the other night. I'm like, oh, it has Ben Foster in it. I'll watch just about anything with him because I think
Bro,
he's a cool
Come Hell or
fighter.
High Water is good. It is so good.
All right.
It's so good.
Nice.
I went out and bought the gun that Ben Foster's using at the very end. That's right.
Oh.
Remington Model 780,
That was
783. I got it in my hands right here. It's like I got the world.
Best-
Yeah, if you haven't
Shoehorn
watched
ever.
it is on Netflix, Derek.
You gotta see. It's such a man movie. It is all about what it
Right.
means to be a man. Any movie that somebody sings "Get Along, Little Doggies," it's your misfortune and none of my own. in a police chase after a bank robbery. I mean, you gotta love it, man. So yeah, you gotta watch it. It's really good. If you're doing
That man feeling like Baki does.
Hey, that's another film. Let's segue right on to Sigu. Go ahead, brother. Sigu away.
Baki, man, this is one of the rare ones that I hadn't had suggested to me to watch by my anime godfather. However, I do recall my brother telling me about a fighting anime and realizing that this is the one that he was talking about so
That's
long
actually
ago.
not it. That's actually not the one.
This is not that?
Hajime no
Oh, no.
Ippo.
I've been watching Hajime no Ippo on Verve, dude. It's on there. Have you seen it?
Have you? Is
know
it
they put
season
it on
one?
Verve?
Is it season one?
Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm watching.
Bro, congratulations! I'm telling you, Hajime no Ippo on. I gotta renew my Verve account now. Shout out to everybody who didn't know about Verve, and shout out to people who do know. Verve is this amazing anime. It's not even just anime. It's this. Derek, tell us about it.
Verve offers several different platforms of media to stream. I actually ended up replacing my Crunchyroll with Verve because Verve also gives you access to Crunchyroll.
And Verve is actually a Crunchyroll company. But keep going.
Exactly. So for $10 a month as opposed to like $7.95 with Crunchyroll, you get not only do you get Verve itself because it has several different streaming services, you also get Crunchyroll, you also get Shudder, a few other animated like humor like Cartoon Hangover, Curiosity Stream, Geek and Sundry shows for gamers like Mondo, Extreme Animation.
Basically,
it has several different.
Basically, Crunchyroll is the only reason to buy it, but you get Crunchyroll basically for cheaper in a way, and you get more content than just like Korean dramas.
Because you also get access to like other anime devices on there too, and they have a wide variety. You know, they have dubbed and subbed, but anyway. Back to the
Hajime
show
no Ippo
originally.
is one of the shows.
Hajime no Ippo.
Hajime no Ippo, the fighting. It's loosely translated. It's the beginning of Ippo. Ippo's beginning, if you will, about a young guy who starts off getting beat up, picked on at school, and decides he wants to pick up. He's home of a single mom. His dad died when he was young. And he decides that he's never really been tough before. He wants to get out, learn how to do boxing, and he becomes the best boxer in Japan. It's basically what it is. And it is an amazing, probably my favorite anime of all time. Very special place. Shout out to Marcus Barker for introducing me to it. But that's not the anime that we recommend for this week. But Hajime no Ippo, you're definitely doing it the player way if you watching that. But then talk about Baki the Grappler, man.
Baki the Grappler, man. Now I got to give Curtis a shout out on this one because he asked me if I had seen this one, and I started watching it, and I just couldn't stop. Like I went back and watched the series again right after I finished it, just because of being able to. There's so much action that happens, and it's so
over the top.
raw.
This is not something for kids to watch.
Not at all. This is a very mature show. It's gruesome. It's gory. It's bloody. It's violent. It's extremely violent.
Extremely violent.
Violent. I mean, this is stuff that you hear about happening in police stories often, and it's just going down. These type of the type of violence in this, but. Honestly, I'm still curious. Like, I feel like they shouldn't have called it Baki because he's barely just in the series. I feel like you see him like a handful of times. It just follows all the other fighters. But man, the fighting, every episode is epic. Every episode is just incredibly action packed. The animation on it so smooth,
So smooth, just like.
and it's incredible. And you were telling me that this one held the theme much closer to the manga, correct?
Yeah, definitely the manga. There's several other series. You got Baki, Grappler Baki is like the mainstay series that you typically hear people quote and like about the animated version of the manga, but it's not true to the manga. There's other OVAs, original video animations, that are out there called Baki the Grappler. But Baki, the one that Netflix, they're calling it a Netflix original. And I don't necessarily know if I think it's like a show that was bought from somewhere else because there seems to be a lot of episodes out there. But when I went to watch on Netflix, there was only one season available. How many seasons have you seen on Netflix?
Same here. I've only seen the one until you suggested that
Muhammad Ali
video.
Jr. Yeah, Muhammad Ali Jr.
Yeah,
being somebody. Yeah, it was weird, but Muhammad Ali is a character in there. There's other mainstay martial artists that have either junior versions of themselves, but they're essentially supposed to be them that are in the anime, and so it takes place within our world. Like it's not this elseworld anime like One Punch Man or Naruto or anything like that, Bleach. It takes place in our world and they quote things that are in our world, so it's supposed to be real and it is very raw, and it is not, but it is still one of those animes where a person can get their face ripped off and then they can put a bandage over it and they come back next week. So but yeah, if you're an adult, it's definitely a way to do anime the player way. So that's what you got going on there. Anything else that you guys were kind of looking at as best content from the last year or past couple of years that you can kind of watch on as we get ready for other upcoming films like the trailer that just dropped today, which is Spider-Man Far From Home? But before we get to that, anything you guys got up?
Not something I've watched from the past year, but I mean, I don't know if Derek has. There's something upcoming that I'm really excited about.
What is it?
On January 18th,
Glass?
Netflix is coming out with
Punisher.
No, not that, honestly.
Ooh, we both struck out. Strike 2, strike 3.
The documentary on the Fire Festival. This thing has
is that coming out?
Conception. It comes out on the 18th. I can't
wait.
I
can't wait.
Yeah.
I really want to know where was Ja when all this went down. I want to know what Ja Rule had to do with all
Monica!
This. Man.
Yeah. The whole Fire Festival thing fascinated me from when I first heard about, like, not the actual festival itself, but like once people started realizing this was complete like farcity and it was a disaster, it was just fascinating.
It's fascinating how so many people didn't get the plot. Like anybody with a brain, a normal lay person, because that's what we are, right, Derek?
A layman.
Exactly. So how did they not get the common sense? I just don't. It had to be convincing. Like it just had
it was. Like you never saw like the advertisements for it with all the models.
Yeah, but it didn't look real to me. It just
none of it we live in a society that worships the Kardashians. People are going to see these advertisements with these models and think, oh, you know, a luxury. I don't know.
So January 18th, that's coming out. I'll be looking out for that on Netflix.
Yeah,
that's what's down. Glass is definitely coming out that same week.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited about that, even though they showed the whole movie in the in trailer number 2. Derek, you lamenting over that
Totally
still?
did. Totally did. And, oh, and Nate, quick point. I was looking up the Fire Festival. I think it says it might be Hulu on here, but the
100%
other one has a Netflix trailer. So that's
Yes.
what's weird. So, maybe either or. Sorry.
Oh, and speaking of trailer,
Yeah.
other great things coming out. They just announced that in April, mid-April, Game of Thrones is coming back for the last season, and really excited about that. But so many things to be thankful for with that show coming back. Let's talk about Spider-Man: Far From Home, and then let's get on out of here. Right? Sound good?
Absolutely.
Have y'all
Fair
seen
enough.
the trailer?
Yes.
Nate, you sent it to us, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you get to go first.
It looks like a fun movie, but Sony is in charge of this marketing. If it were me and I worked for Marvel, I wouldn't have released this trailer. Because one, you're showing Spider-Man and you're
man.
showing Nick Fury. Unless this movie is set before Infinity War, which is highly unlikely, because I think they already said it wasn't. Why are you going to spoil that for people?
Well, it's obvious from, Derek, you saw the trailer, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you have not seen the trailer, you don't want to hear anything about it, go ahead and mute us now. But anyway, the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, it's very obvious that the reason why Peter doesn't want to take his costume with him is because after being dusted, he's kind of had enough of being Spider-Man for a while. So it's obvious that that's kind of the tone of he probably doesn't want to be Spider-Man anymore, and Nick Fury gives him a reason that he has a responsibility. That's where this film is the film about with great power comes great responsibility. Like that's the tone of this film. And I think Mysterio looks amazing, by the way.
Dude, that was the highlight of
Man.
the trailer for me is they gave him the fishbowl helmet.
But
Like,
it gave
how-
away who these Titans are that they're fighting. They're holograms of him.
Yeah, see, that's
Yeah.
all
I
right.
hated
This is
that.
how if you had to release a Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, what I would have done is center it all on Jake Gyllenhaal being this hero that has come out of nowhere.
Yes.
Because it strikes me as who was the one from The Incredibles? Who was that bad guy from Incredibles 1?
Yeah, I know you're talking
Syndrome?
about. It was like Syndrome.
Like,
Oh, good
yeah,
job.
where he was stopping
Deep
all
cut,
these things,
man.
acting like he was the good guy.
Yeah.
Like I think that's what Mysterio is going to be.
That's obvious what they want him to be.
Yeah.
And I think
said
they missed
the
an
exact
opportunity.
same thing after I saw the trailer. I was like, he's definitely
Don't
that's
even
definitely
show
what's happening.
Peter. Don't show Tom Holland. Don't show Nick Fury. Like, show Jake stopping all these things. And it's like, hi, I'm Mysterio. Like,
In a world where you can't trust heroes anymore, there's a hero
Yeah.
that has the powers of Thor and such and such and such and such combined.
yeah.
Exactly. That's the way they should have gone with it. Go toward the I believe in Harvey
But-
Dent side. Yeah.
I gotta imagine it's some suit in the Sony marketing department saying like, Spider-Verse was a hit. We need to get this trailer out now. And it's like
That's
Marvel's
exactly
probably
what
like,
that
well,
was.
don't show Peter Parker. No, we got to show Spider-Man. Spider-Man's big. Spider-Man's huge.
What I heard is that there was an issue with it leaking. And so because it leaked, they had to do something.
They showed it at some Comic-Con.
That's exactly what happened. And so it leaked. It was going to leak. So they dropped this. They justified dropping it because of that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a possibility that this is? It could be before Infinity
No.
War on his European
It
trip
is,
at all?
but-
Or do you think just because? I mean, like ruling that out completely, like that's just definitely not an option here.
No, I think it's a possibility. I think it's just a small one.
It's a dumb
How-
possibility.
yeah.
If it's before, it's dumb. Because we don't care about what happened before Thanos snapped his finger.
Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp was before Infinity War, though. You know
it
what
was
I mean?
during.
Technically.
No, they had to put that scene at the end of it with him disappearing.
Well, yeah, they put the scene at the end, but the majority of that movie happened before, Infinity
Well, we
War,
didn't
you
know
what I
that.
mean?
We didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
There was no,
No,
way
I
to know.
know.
There was no way to know.
I know there's no way to
Because-
to know.
because-
that's why I'm asking. Like, do you think it's possible that maybe they're just either trying to imply it, or they're just more so it was leaked out and now we just had to throw it
Well,
out?
no one cares because it's coming out after it's when it's coming out is what matters. So it doesn't. Why go through this
because
trouble?
it's coming out after Endgame.
Exactly. I think your initial assertion is quite brilliant. I think some executive said, "Hey, Spider-Man's hot right now. We got the PS4 game that's hot. It's going like hotcakes right now. You see? Got to get it on out there. Spider Kid. You know, that's what it is.
Some J. Jonah Jameson is actually doing that.
And how you know
Some
Spider-Man
intern
is hot.
statistics are showing Spider-Man is indeed very hot right now, sir.
Exactly. And how you know Spider-Man is going like hotcakes right now, see? Is because they just greenlit Venom 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so and Venom was great, but I don't know about a number 2. It was okay.
If
I
we
didn't
did a
like
worst
Cletus
of list,
Cassidy at
Venom
all.
would
That was the
definitely
worst
be up there
wig.
for me.
Say what?
I said if we did a worst of list,
Yeah.
Venom would definitely be top
I didn't
5.
like the wig. I didn't like the wig. And I said that to begin with. When I first talked about Venom on record, I said everything was good except Cletus Cassidy at the end. I really think they should have just gone straight bald with Natural Born Killers, kind of feel to Woody Harrelson. We supposed to feel this guy is menacing. To go kind of silly with it, I don't know about all that. So, that Spider-Verse.
Right, I mean, it did like, what, 220?
It did okay. No, it did
Oh,
great.
no, it was massively successful.
It was very successful.
Yeah.
No one's disagreeing
you just don't
with
need
that.
another
It's
one?
it's the climate of the Spider-Verse, the impact of the Spider-Verse. It's everybody's trying to double down on that, and so that's what's going down. In fact, when Rachel came home, I got home and Rachel got home at the same time. And Rachel said, "Hey, did you see the Spider-Man trailer?" And then I immediately looked to my text message to see if Nate had sent it to me, and that's how I knew it was real. Because I said, "Oh, okay, there you go. It's real then." So to that point, and to not make a long story longer, I think you're right, Derek. I think people are doubling down on it. Spider-Man's going like hotcakes, see?
Yeah.
And it's time to get on out there and get your Spider-Man t-shirts and cotton. Gum shoes. Speaking of gum shoes, y'all heard about the Carmen Sandiego series coming out?
I saw that trailer.
Man, yeah, that's another thing. So a lot of great content coming out, and the tone of this episode, I want you guys to remember, ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between, with all due respect, if you are definitely listening to this podcast and you're hearing that we have a little bit of gloom and doom at the beginning, and we're talking about the political climate, it's because we do want to encapsulate what this time of the year was like. Starting back at the front of the year, it was very obvious that the political climate is impacting how well people consume content to the point where we kind of breezed over Kevin Hart a little bit. And it's definitely had an impact on how people are receiving him and how well he's doing. But we hope that as you are consuming your content and media, you're definitely corrupting the system. And who better to tell you what to do with your life and all of this advice than Mr.
Corrupting the system.
That's right, man. Don't forget, stay weird out there, folks. After all, we're just agents. So if you don't like what the Player Way is broadcasting, off the strength, I will encourage you to, while applauding you for corrupting the system.
Corrupting the system.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, with all due respect, this has been your resident podcast DJ, BK, helping you understand how to curate your life and media without sound effects, the Player Way.
The Player Way.
Along with my co-captains, Nate.
That's me. I'm going to come up with something just as eloquent as Derek later.
Hey, we'll do that. And Derek has already signed off, and he said what he had said. Hashtag off the strength. Off the strength. Exactly. That's what's up. We're going to have fun regardless, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between. Y'all stay classy out there. And as Derek would say, you stay weird out there. And as Nate would say,
I hope they remember you.
we're going to wrap that out just like that. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace. All right.
We're out.
Exporting.
Studio engineer and producer, James Turner. Contributing writers, Ian Robert Parsons, Darius Prather, Johnny Robinson, and Jonathan Barron. And I'm Darren Marlar, showing you how to do voiceovers the Player Way. Get this and more lifestyle news at PlayLifeYourWay.com.